The following podcast is a presentation of Project Entertainment Network.
Welcome to Staring into the Abyss. This is your host, Richard Gerlach. With me, as always, is Michael Patrick Hicks.
Hello.
Matt Brandenburg.
Hey, people.
What up, what up? And I have my cat allergy-infested voice ready to talk about The Night Sun, written by Terry Zin under the name Zin E. Rocklyn.
Super good.
And
That's not a secret. We didn't just blow her cover. So.
No, it's credited on Twitter.
Gotcha.
Ooh,
She's
gotcha.
been on the show before. So
This is bigger than the Joe Hill being Stephen King's son revelation.
yes.
Right. We are on top of things, recording in February, not releasing till April. We're giving you the breaking news.
I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Owen King is also the son of Stephen King.
Get the fuck out of here.
Who?
Crazy.
Are all people with the last name King related to Stephen King?
Yes.
Well, Stephen King, the writer, not the racist GOP jackass.
Fair.
Hopefully no one has had the horrible lapse in judgment to fuck that guy, but...
Well, if you have not read The Night Sun, you can read it for free on Tor's website or buy it for $1 for the Kindle off Tor's website. I highly recommend just buying a copy, keeping it safe, keeping it close, because if you enjoy werewolf stories, this is a very interesting take and one of the better literary ones I've read.
Yeah, we'll get into that discussion because I was wondering if it was a werewolf or something else, but
it's a bit of both. It's weird, but it's cool.
Yeah.
It's very unique and it's very different, and I think it makes it stand out more.
It's its own beast.
oh, nice.
Damn.
It's almost like I'm a writer. I don't know.
You right, Mike?
Not according to my critics, but...
Mostly just pun books and jokes.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm still waiting for that one Trump voter to find your new book, by the way.
I
Mike.
am too. That is going to be a day.
I am still waiting for that.
I'm waiting for the death threats. I'm looking forward to those emails.
The ones about threatening to rape your mom.
Yeah, there will be some good material I can read on air once those start coming in.
There you go.
And post to my Twitter account should any future police investigations happen.
Yeah, we'll have official proof and dates and times.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be a good time.
So apparently we're looking for a new co-host in the future.
Possibly, yeah. I will be canceled, I'm sure, as soon as they find. Friday Night Massacre, available now on Amazon and Kindle and paperback editions.
1-800 something something something.
1-800 me, motherfuckers.
Well, you know what? You know who's uncancelable?
Who is
Not
that?
Gina Carano.
Not Gina Carano.
Oh,
Michael St. Michael's.
Michael St. Michael's. Why does that name
Greasy
sound
Strangler.
familiar? Oh,
The Strangler. Uh-oh.
He's the old dude in the Greasy Strangler. I watched a movie at the beginning of this week that has Michael St. Michael's in it called Fingers.
Oh, no.
Are they greasy fingers?
They are not greasy fingers.
Are they chicken fingers?
They are not chicken fingers. The movie's on Shudder.
Did they do a crossover with Fingers and what was that? The Butt Detective? Butt Cop movie you were watching?
Butt Boy.
Butt Boy.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Hey, man, Butt Boy is a good movie.
They should do a crossover feature of Fingers and
God.
Butt Boy. They can do like a cinematic universe.
There you go.
So Fingers is on Shudder, but I wouldn't really call it a horror movie. But I wouldn't recommend it to anybody unless they're a horror fan, if that makes any sense.
I think so.
The movie is very offensive, but it's purposely offensive, and like it's funny in that way. It's about a woman who is like afraid of everything that isn't normal.
It's Matt.
So like what? So she sees a therapist, and kind of when we shall spoil the movie. The movie is kind of a satire on the whole celebrity therapist thing. So she sees a therapist who's trying to get a Dr. Phil like TV show deal, and she's talking to him, and she's like, "I went to the store the other day, and I don't want to sound racist, but I saw the store owner, and he was a really short man, and that scared me. But he was also like black, like really black, and that scared me even more. But I'm not scared of black people, but like he was just really black. You know what I mean?" And he's just like, yep. At the end of the session, he goes, "To help get over your fears, you need to buy my $50 book."
Oh, yeah.
And she buys it from him. And then the next day at work, she goes to work and she notices that her coworker's missing a pinky.
Oh.
And he's just typing, doing his job like it's no big deal, but his pinky's missing. And she freaks the fuck out and demands he gets fired and all these things. And then the next week she goes back to work and he's missing another finger. And he's acting like it's completely normal. And they try to stage this intervention to like show her that this is dumb, that she's being afraid over these things. And it escalates to her wanting to face her fears of what's making her afraid. And she kind of gets caught up in this circle between this guy who cuts people's fingers off wearing a panda mask and Michael St. Michael's, who is collecting these fingers, and this coworker who's just having his fingers cut off with bolt cutters like once a week.
Why? Why do they want their fingers cut off?
He doesn't want them cut off. So they don't reveal until the end, so that'll be a spoiler. I don't know. I can give a spoiler if you want, but I'll warn the audience first.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Okay, spoiler. He's cutting off the fingers because they have the wrong address, and he's supposed to be cutting off someone else's fingers.
Oopsie.
For like a heartbeat, I thought you meant the fingers had the wrong address.
No, like a Michael St. Michael's is the guy who's running the operation, and he wrote down the address wrong. So the wrong guy is getting his fingers cut off.
Oh my god!
Like the end of the movie is the funniest part to me. Is like Michael St. Michael's is sitting down with this guy, and the guy has all his fingers cut off but like one thumb.
Oh man!
And he's just like, "I feel really bad about this, so I got this for you." And he puts like a card in between the stubs of his fingers.
Oh, no.
And like, that's a $100 Best Buy gift card. I figured $10 for each finger. Wow. I realize now this was a stupid idea. So how can I make this up to you?
Oh, wow.
And then the guy's like, why? Why me? And he's just like, I thought I wrote down the address for some lawyer fuck that was supposed to be you, but I got the address wrong.
Wow.
And the guy just looks at him and he's like, really? And then Michael St. Michael's is like, how can I repay you for this? And he holds up his stubs and goes, an eye for an eye. And then he's like, do you have a garbage disposal? And the guy's like, yeah. So he takes off his shirt. He goes to the sink. He turns the disposal on and he puts his hand down. And then he looks over and he goes, my hand's too big. And then the guy looks at him and goes, I have a table saw. And then it just rolls the credits.
Oh, God. What the hell?
The movie's hilarious. Like, it's really funny. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's not a horror movie, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone unless you have either a twisted sense of humor or are kind of into, like, the darker side of movies. It is really funny. There's one line that killed me when the guy in the panda mask is cutting off his fingers. He's like, I took your thumb and I ate it raw.
Oh, God.
And then I shit it out of me. I guess that makes me a cannibal now. I'm a fucking cannibal.
What the hell? Oh, wow. All right.
It is a wild movie.
It sounds messed up.
But it's a lot of fun. Like, I had a really good time with it. And that was kind of like my big movie for this week. But, Mike, what about you? Anything?
Something a little bit more serious than that. I got to read an advanced copy of Cassandra Khaw's Nothing But Blackened Teeth, her new
I'm so jealous you got approved for that shit, motherfucker.
And right now I am reading an arc of Stephen King's Later from Hard Case Crime. So,
Ooh.
2 for 2. Nothing But Blackened Teeth comes out in October, so you guys are going to have to wait a little while for this one. But middle of February right now, this is the best book I've read this year so far.
Nice.
In like the 5 weeks we've been in 2021. This is a haunted Japanese mansion story. It feels unfair to call them friends because they feel more like factions that have come together, but these 5 people have traveled to Japan for a destination wedding of a mutual friend, bride and groom, who want to take their vows in a haunted house. So they go to this abandoned ancient mansion in Japan, where, according to legend, thousands of years ago, a bride was waiting for her groom to arrive so that they could get married. The groom ended up dying en route to the mansion and never showed up. So the bride-to-be demanded that the wedding guests bury her alive in the house's foundation and to sacrifice a new girl each year so that their bones could keep the house standing until the ghost of her departed lover could find his way back to her.
Awesome.
And now it sounds awesome, and it is. And now we've got this new bride and groom that are set to be married at this mansion. And things start to happen. Things go awry as they start to waken up these old ghosts. And it is fucking amazing. It's a novella, so it's really short, but Cassandra Khaw her writing is just absolutely marvelous. She is a hell of a wordsmith. And if you have seen the cover art that depicts the entity that's haunting this house, the cover art is fantastic, but Khaw's prose really, really makes this thing fucking creepy.
Hell
and
yeah.
there's some moments in the story that are so effectively done, they're practically a jump scare on the page. But I don't want to tell you what those are, but they're really good.
I love her writing. I've been dying to read this one. I got so bummed out. I mean, Tor always rejects me, so I don't know why I was hoping this would be different. I was super. I think they have been auto reject those motherfuckers.
Probably.
But I was super bummed I got rejected for that because the cover alone is just so fucking good, and I really want to read that book.
Yeah.
Well, I think when it comes out in October, we need to do a show on this one.
I mean, I'd be down to do that.
I'm calling an audible. I think that's what we need to do.
Well, let's do it.
We covered one of her stories, and it was amazing. And it's funny because we had talked about that. We were like, we want new stuff from Cassandra.
Did we?
Yeah.
Are you confusing her with Alyssa Wong?
I think you are.
No.
We didn't do a Cassandra Khaw story.
We did.
Yeah, I don't think we have.
I thought we did.
No, we didn't.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
you also forgot we read Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been? So I don't know if you're the trusted source of information about what we have or haven't read.
I'm trying to think then. What did I? Never mind. All right. Apparently I confused what I've read. Okay. Yep. Maybe because I've read Cassandra Khaw short stories, and maybe I just in my head imagined wanting more, but you could be right. I'll trust you. I'll trust your judgment.
I don't think we have discussed her, but we need to.
I'd be down. No, she's a fantastic.
Well, apparently I like it enough. Yeah. Okay. I get
you like it enough to imagine we recorded an episode about it.
Yes. Maybe I saw into the future.
Maybe it was a premonition.
It could be true.
It could be. It might be true. Who knows? Only the future will find out.
Oh, man. That's crazy. Oh, no.
Did you have an accident and fall through ice over the weekend, maybe?
Good. I'm on the other side.
Yeah, maybe.
Let me tell you about the future. Hamburgers eat us.
Oh, fuck. Well, I guess the doctor was right about laying off that red meat. It's going to want its revenge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once they start making it in a lab, we know what happens when you start making shit in labs.
It's true. You get Soylent Green.
Yeah, and then it gets hungry.
Yeah.
So, Matt, what have you watched or read this last week?
Well, reading-wise, I spent all my time on a story we're covering soon, so I won't go into details about that. So if you haven't read it yet, Negative Space, I think we're doing in 2 weeks. So
yep, 2 weeks.
However, I did watch some stuff. I think we'll go with our weekly now WandaVision talk because I want to save my crazy one for the end because I think it would be funny to discuss. But
so Jimmy Woo needs, or is it Jimmy Woo? He needs a show.
Yeah, him and Darcy, they need a spin-off show.
Yes.
I mean, like, when they started punching the guys, I was like, damn, they got some skills.
Yeah.
Because, like, you see, like, you know, he's an Ant-Man, and he's kind of comical in that. You don't really see him as more of an action person. So,
yeah. I mean, it's like he had to have had training being in the FBI, but he's always kind of come across as being more like a bumbling idiot. But,
even makes that joke about, like, the only reason he's not at the FBI, not doing an assignment right then is because he's not part of the softball team, or softball season is over. So what'd you guys think of this episode this week?
I loved it.
Yeah, it's been consistently top tier.
I also loved how Wanda's and Vision's costume were a callback to their, like, original 60s comic outfits.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them. It was great that they were all
they were all wearing retro Marvel comic costume outfits. Like, that was really cute.
I wouldn't mind if the rest of the season, if she just wore that outfit all the time.
I also love how we're kind of learning a bit more about, like, why Vision is here. And this whole idea, like, I don't think if they end this, like, Wanda or whoever is controlling this force field, because I don't think it's Wanda alone.
No.
But I think once that goes down, Vision's dead again.
Yes.
Because when he tried to get out of the town, he couldn't.
So, two things that, because we've been rewatching it again, just because it's been fun to watch. But so you have Pietro who knows he's in on whatever this is. And it's funny because rewatching the episode from last week at the end when he's like, who's this popsicle? And he's pointing at Vision. In my mind, I could be wrong, but in my mind, he's seeing Vision as a dead person there, which then leads you. So there's that, which leads me to wonder if Vision is truly dead, is everything Vision doing in WandaVision a part of Wanda's mind?
I mean, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, because which then I think it's interesting because he's asking all these questions. And so then you're like, well, is Wanda asking these questions? Is Wanda trying to figure this out through Vision? So, you know, which then obviously leads to clearly she's not in control of all of it. Though Pietro kind of is like, dude, you're controlling all of this. Like, where'd you put these kids? And like, I understand about hiding in your own little world and everything like that, which is, I thought was, you know, again, interesting of like trying to figure it out of who's who and everything.
And it's odd, too, that she doesn't remember anything prior to coming to that town.
I also
at least selectively doesn't remember. And I don't know if that's part of her grief or if she wiped her own mind or if somebody else has done this to her.
Yeah, and only bits and pieces are coming back because like all the stuff with the bringing up the twin last week and then bringing up the mom and everything, I was like, man, she's remembering some, but she's not remembering everything. And
then there was the whole thing with Vision and Agnes.
Yes, and totally was putting on an act, right?
Yeah,
that's what I thought too. It was very good and it was very interesting. So I was like, oh, she's clearly got something. The other thing I thought was interesting after rewatching it is when you see, like, when you're out in the real world and you kind of see the picture of all the people that they've been kind of finding. And obviously with Agnes, they don't have an ID. They don't know who she is. But the other thing that we noticed is that they don't even have a picture of Dottie up there. Which then I was like, well, they got to be seeing her on the TV, so they know she's there. And it's like, why don't they have a picture of her?
Also, I laughed at the end when Wanda extended the force field and the sword encampment turned into a circus.
Yes.
And they all turned into clowns.
That was awesome. And what about the commercial?
The commercial's
the animated
hilarious.
one.
It was so dark.
I don't get how that ties into the other commercials that have been all Stark Industries and
I have a theory. We watched something and they kind of went in a different way, but my theory is that the shark is whoever is controlling this, just because the shark is like, I ate all of your magic, which, your magic.
Oh yeah, the Yo Magic yogurt.
Yes. So that was my thought, was that whoever the shark is whoever's controlling this and is like, I ate all of your magic. I control all of this. And that's why she couldn't open it, or the kid couldn't open it and ended up dying.
That was so fucking dark.
One thing that stuck out for me, and I don't know how this might play out, was when Vision was escaping from the containment field and the visual effects were looking very much like the snap.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where he's dissolving. I thought that was really neat.
Well, and I think I thought that was what was the story with that? And
yeah, it's an interesting callback that if she's controlling this, that she would make people escaping it, make it emulate what Thanos did.
Yeah. Exactly. I'll be interested now to see what Darcy does, because she's got pulled in.
And there's only 3 episodes left.
I know.
That's so crazy. I'm really hoping that they can stick this landing.
I had seen a rumor of a potential 10th episode, because there is a gap week between the supposed end of this show and the start of Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Okay.
So we'll see.
I'm intrigued by Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I am too. I've been waiting for that one for
I feel
ages.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to get some hate for this opinion. I feel like WandaVision's doing something different, and I think that's really cool. And I would like the other Marvel TV shows to do something different along those lines. But it seems like Falcon and Winter Soldier is just going to be your fun, typical Marvel fare, which isn't a bad thing.
No, not at all.
I feel like WandaVision was just doing something cool and interesting, and I'm a little disappointed that they're not attempting other weird things with the other Marvel shows.
Yeah.
But it also plays into their power sets. With Wanda, you can get away with this shit. You could not do a sitcom of this nature with Falcon and Winter Soldier.
You could. They could be roommates. It could be like Friends.
They'll be leaning, I think, into a lot of buddy cop type of stuff.
But I feel like that would be
saw
better.
that in the preview.
I feel that'd be better suited for a movie though than like a TV show. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll prove me wrong. But
I just hope they're not 30-minute segments each week.
I think they probably will be.
I know. I just want my full hour-long fucking
You're
show.
spoiled, Mike.
I am spoiled.
Yeah.
Sopranos spoiled me for life.
Yes. It's like I like it. We've talked about it too. I like The Mandalorian kind of did the length that fit for the episode. And they sort of are doing this, though it's killing me. And maybe we talked about this, but the credits are so long. It makes me think.
It makes no sense.
Yes. Every time I'm like, maybe there's something at the end of this one. And I fast forward and there's not. And I'm like, why are the credits 7 minutes long?
Yeah. It just goes to the ad to watch Age of Ultron if you like this show.
Like, damn it. I hope with Winter Soldier and Falcon that they kind of do like a Tango and Cash. That would be fun. But I agree with you that I like the more weirder outside of kind of the Marvel stuff. Like all the stuff with Sword is interesting, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, guys, clearly that she could have taken down Thanos and all these things that she's done. And yet they're still like, well, we're going to shoot a missile at her. We're going to shoot her with guns. And you're like, why are you even trying that?
Yeah.
It's like, what she can do. And it's like, it's fine. I've heard a lot of rumors that they're going to bring in the Sentinels. Perfect. Do that, because that's something different than we're going to shoot bullets at this magic person who took down this entity that was going to destroy the universe.
Well, apparently with Sword, they've kind of changed what the acronym means for the MCU. They've changed it to Sentient Weapon.
Yeah.
So, Sentinels could very well be on the horizon.
Yeah, that's a big rumor because of this. They're saying like, well, this is bringing in X-Men, and then obviously with X-Men, they're going to bring in Sentinels. So we'll see. I know the show will be done by the time this airs. So when I listen, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
But as far as more weird Marvel fare goes, I think you guys are probably going to have to wait for Moon Knight or She-Hulk. I think those are going to be pretty fucking weird.
I'm so excited for Moon Knight, dude. You have no idea.
That's going to be awesome.
Anything else from you, Mike? I know Matt has one more crazy suggestion.
Cynthia Pelayo's Children of Chicago.
I just started that.
That is really, really good. And it's one of those books that it escalates really nicely so that by the end of it, you're just completely glued to the page and wondering what the fuck is going on? How are they going to resolve this? And it's great. It's a neat little twist on the Grimm's Fairy Tales Pied Piper story.
Awesome. And Cynthia Pelayo is going to be on our podcast soon.
Awesome. I'm excited to talk to her. She's great.
We're going to revisit Where You Going, Where Have You Been by Joyce Carol Oates, the story Matt forgot that we read before.
Yeah.
So it'll be like the first time for me.
I guess so, yeah. And I mean, that story ties in very nicely with what she's done with Children of Chicago. I can see the through line there connecting these two stories. It's a natural pick.
That's awesome.
So basically what you've got here, it's like a bit of a Candyman twist where there's this spell to summon the Pied Piper, and the children who are reading the Grimm's Fairy Tales can reenact this poem to summon him and have him kill other children. And investigating it all is a very bad cop who has a very troubled history of her own. And she is a really dark, really fascinating character. She is definitely not like a Detective Bosch end of scale. She's more on the Vic Mackey end of the scale.
I mean, to be fair, Detective Bosch and Vic Mackey are two of my favorite cops.
Yeah, ditto. I absolutely loved what Vic Mackey, what Michael Chiklis did with that character, but you can never mistake him as being the hero. You know, he is, as one of the characters called him, Al Capone with a badge. That's kind of where we're getting with this character. She is
perfect.
Very much into abusing her powers, and she just uses people and is just a terrible, terrible woman, but very, very compelling because of that darkness. And so she's got to investigate this supernatural crime that's tearing apart Chicago.
Well, I'm on vacation this week, so I'm going to try to get as much reading in as I can.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to put this on the podcast, but guess what workshop I'm going to on Friday?
Oh, what one?
Apex Magazines with Jason.
What?
Yeah, it's a Patreon exclusive.
That's awesome.
Cool. So what are you doing? What does it cover?
He is going to be giving me a one-on-one workshop and helping me improve one of my short stories.
Very cool.
Wow.
Well, he has his work cut out for him.
Yeah, he does. My writing fucking sucks.
I'm kidding. Obviously, I haven't read any of your stuff, so I don't know.
You read part of one of my stories.
Maybe.
It had you when there was the rubbed up cum like napkin that was next to your bed.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Next to your bed.
That was a fun one. But no, I'm serious. Like, I'm pretty excited to have this opportunity, especially because my debut's coming out in May. So it'll be nice to like get extra feedback on that story before I submit the final version for that.
Yes, that's awesome.
And
Children of Chicago sounds great. I have it on my Kindle.
I have it on my Kindle too.
Yeah, it's really good. I liked it a lot. So definite recommendation right there.
Yeah, that's on my list for this week, as well as The Burning Girls by C.J. Tudor. So
cool. See
if I can get those in. And Matt, what's your crazy recommendation?
Oh man! All right. First of all, I'm gonna blame the Ghostwriters podcast. I don't know.
Oh God, did you watch that fucking like shark movie?
I did not watch that one.
Okay.
I watched Carousel, which is about a Carousel. I can't even pronounce that word. Carousel unicorn that comes to life and kills people, all on his hunt. His name is Duke. All on his hunt to kill this kid that, he's tired of people abusing him on the carousel. And this kid kind of breaks the camel's back, so to speak, and he wants to take revenge on this kid. So this carousel horse is alive. It talks, and it goes through and murders a bunch of people in the most crazy ways possible. The unicorn horn doesn't get used as much as, say, ninja stars, bow and arrow, axe, machete, laser eyes. Let's see what else. It does use its hooves. And it drives a car. And yeah, it's absolutely bonkers. It's literally an hour and 6 minutes. The credits are 3 of it, so it's barely an hour-long movie. Majority of the time is spent at this party where a bunch of these, I don't know what age they are, maybe college age, maybe older adults are partying, and there's a pizza delivery guy who doesn't get paid, and so he's there this entire time to get his money for the pizza he delivered. And one of the girls, the sister of the boy that the Duke is after, is trying to hook up with the pizza boy, but the pizza boy is obsessed with pizza and does not understand any of her innuendos. So every time she says something, he's like, well, you can call the pizza place or order pizza, or the best thing in the world is pizza. Let's see. There's a brother and sister who are French Canadian, and they love each other very, very, very much. There is your typical American redneck kind of guy who thinks he's a badass. There is a couple, and they both love, instead of My Little Pony, I can't remember what it is. It's something different, but it's basically My Little Pony.
Are they bronies?
Yeah, they're bronies, but they're not bronies. And so the girl of the couple is absolutely in love with this unicorn, and there is a scene of love with the unicorn. There is the guy.
Who's on top? Is it the guy? Is it the brony character or the unicorn?
Well, I should preface and say, like, you see the start and then you see the end, so you don't really know.
Wow. So they cut out the money shot. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fuck.
But I mean, you guys, you gotta see this movie. There's a guy, like this cowboy cool guy who is like, like your typical kind of like amusement park like character. So he's got like a big mask on his head, and he's hunting down this horse, and they give him like all these monologues, but they didn't mic him properly, and so he's talking through this mask, so he's just like, and you just have to guess what he's saying. And it's like, I don't even know. I loved it. It was absolutely amazing. This horse is.
I have a question.
I'm ready.
Do they fuck a pizza?
No, they do not.
But he loves pizza. Why doesn't he stick his dick in the pizza?
He does love pizza, but that's very unsanitary.
I would argue if he does not fuck the pizza, then he doesn't love pizza.
Well, there's this horrible line where she's like, well, she says something about like eating my calzone, or like putting your penis in my calzone, and he's like, oh, the FDA would hate us for that. That's so unsanitary.
Wow.
So they make those lines. They just they don't go the way you want them to go or expect.
Well, I'm happy they're thinking of people like me when they write that stuff. Then
I mean, it's just, oh my god, I can't even. They don't even animate this horse. It's just a horse. And so like there's a scene where it's moving, and it's just like, I don't know, somebody must have like computer animated this, like, or took a picture in Photoshop and just moved it up and down across the screen. But it's only an hour, but at some points it felt like it was 5. Other points it felt like it was 10 minutes. So it's amazing. I highly recommend it. They hint at sequels, and I'm all for it.
Well, you know what else is amazing, guys?
Uh-oh. What's that?
What?
The Night Sun.
Ooh.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yeah, I heard of this too. I first read it last year.
Very nice.
And it was nice to revisit this book because, or not even book, this
short
story.
story.
You say short story or novelette?
It's a short story, I think. I mean, it's
story?
30 pages, Kindle says. I don't know.
I would call it a novelette or a very long short story.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a novella. I'd say like either a novelette or a short story.
I would go with short story, but fuck do I know.
We'll say for the sake of Tor publishing this, we'll call it a novelette.
Okay.
Yeah, because you have to pay $1 to get it on the Kindle. It is free on Tor's website, or you could pay $1 for it.
99 cents.
Well, there's tax, Mike.
What's the penny? Seriously.
There's tax. At least they charge me tax when I buy ebooks in Massachusetts.
You know, I don't know if I got charged tax or not. I don't think I did.
Yeah, I don't think I did either.
Fucking Massachusetts. Anyway, I'm not going to bitch about Massachusetts while we're talking about this book. So I know this was your first time reading the story, Matt.
Yes.
So what did you? You loved it?
Yeah. You know, I like where because like it felt like it could have gone a couple different ways, and I liked where she put it. You know, it actually surprisingly has somewhat of an uplifting ending, which was nice because, you know, you could I guess the first big question is it a werewolf story or is it something else story, like a magic? I assumed it was a werewolf, but then at the same time I was like, well, you know, it could be something else. It could be some sort of like thing, like, you know, something else.
I mean,
is defining the creature important?
No.
So there's that. Yeah, I don't think it's that. But
take a seat, Matt.
But no, you know what? I liked it. It was a strong character. The beginning parts with the husband, which I'm gonna have to look up real quick. Jonas. Like, I was a little worried. I was like, oh man, this is, and not in like, oh god,
this is a piece of shit.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a tough one because he's gonna just be a complete piece of shit throughout the whole thing. And he is, but like, she gains the power back pretty quick. So.
Yeah, it's a great bit of empowerment for her. I absolutely adored this story. Right from the first page, Rocklyn just completely grabbed my attention. Right away, we have a car crash caused by domestic violence and an undead deer.
Yeah, yeah.
What the fuck? I get through that first scene and it's like, all right, I'm in for this. I need to know what the hell is going on here. And I was completely blown away. The writing is fantastic. The depiction of these scenes is harrowing. The relationship that she has with Jonas is nicely complicated. I mean, It is a very fine depiction of an abusive relationship, but it also captures that nuance and the difficulty of being in a domestic relationship like that, where it's just completely violent, and the way they are violent to each other.
Yes.
It's a bit parasitical of a relationship, and there's a lot of nuance to it. It's very complicated.
Yeah,
we'll get into that.
Yeah, I thought I liked that. I thought it was interesting because she's not like a total wilting flower. There are plenty of scenes where she is fighting back verbally, and it didn't seem like she's so broken. Unfortunately, these are complicated topics, but like,
he uses his fist, she uses her words.
Yes, so she like has no problem calling him out and fighting back, which is great because you can read a lot of these stories you read. It seems very like the woman is broken and is like cringes anytime that the husband is around or is doing something. So it's, again, like you said, Mike, it's very complicated and nuanced because she knows what he's capable of. She does cringe at times, but she's not afraid to call him out and talk and like not put up with his shit.
I mean, they've been together for 14 years, so they have a history. They know what each other is about. They have a relationship.
They understand each other.
Yeah.
Like, for better and for worse. Like, they see the best of each other as well as the worst of each other. And in our part of the story, we're at the part where they're just seeing the worst of each other constantly.
Yeah. When the story begins, they're going to a cabin in the woods. This is kind of like their last-ditch effort to save the marriage before she finally pulls the pin on the divorce.
Yeah, like the lawyer isn't the lawyer who said try this weekend, and if this doesn't work, then it's done.
Yeah. This is maybe something that is state mandated. I don't know if like the court is saying like you have to try everything you need to do for reconciliation, and this is kind of their last attempt, or if it's just something that the lawyer is recommending on her own, maybe for more billable hours. We don't know.
Was her sister the lawyer?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Because there's that scene where she wakes up and they're in the cabin and he's like, your lawyer's has been calling. And then when she takes the phone and she goes outside and calls, it's her sister. So I wasn't sure if she just wasn't calling her lawyer and just calling the sister, or if the two are the same person.
You know, it does have a little bit of a wrinkle there. There is perhaps that implication. Maybe she was. Going by the way the story ends, there is definitely a potential evidence of that. But it also sounded like her and her sister hadn't talked for a long time.
Yeah.
Which makes it a bit stickier on if that's the lawyer, then there's probably not a real good client-lawyer relationship there. They haven't talked for years, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, yeah, just take him to the cabin. It'll be great.
Also, one thing the story does that could also be a bit confusing, and I could see why Matt got a little bit confused, is the way it does time jumps.
Yeah.
Where it's just like kind of going back and forth, and you kind of get stuck in this, I don't want to say dream logic, but it's almost like hallucinatory in a way, where it's like you're kind of drifting along with what's happening in the story, and you kind of lose sense of the time that the story is set in and takes place in.
And that probably speaks a lot to her. This character, her name escapes me at the moment. Avery, I think.
Avery.
It kind of speaks to how she feels in that relationship, right? Where she's just been coasting along and willing to put up with this abuse and punishment because it's probably a hell of a lot easier than leaving.
Yeah.
When things start, she has lost her job. Jonas is working, so he, for as awful as he is, he's also her safety net. You know, he's providing income, he's providing shelter, and beating the shit out of her along the way.
Yeah. And like those abuse scenes are really like painful, like just to read.
Oh, I mean,
they cut
the get-go.
Deep.
Yeah. First fucking page, she gets smacked and has her head slammed into the passenger side window. I mean, Zin E Rocklyn does not hold back. She lets you know right from that first page what this story is going to be.
Yeah.
And it is very open about, you know, we're going to be looking at the domestic violence of this story. You're going to see this large man beating on this black woman.
A large white man, yeah. Because that's one thing I think was really interesting about the story is the whole interracial relationship angle with it, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially with the police officer that they come across in the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where it could have gone a whole different way if, like, her husband wasn't a white man.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's able to talk back to the police officer and kind of tell him off without any repercussions.
Yeah.
Which I think we all are aware that a black man would not be able to do that, especially a large black man.
Yep.
Would not be standing on the side of the road uncuffed telling off a police officer in the middle of the night. You know, that's just not going to happen. Or if it does, it's not going to end well. Whereas Jonas is just able to get a ride from the officer to the cabin. Like, they're able to just get in this cop's truck and get dropped off with their luggage at the door of the cabin they're staying at. Like, I don't think that's going to happen if Jonas is a big black man telling off the cop.
Oh, no.
Not at all.
Yeah.
There's even a line later in the story where it's about a third of the way into it where she's reflecting on how Jonas looks with his white blonde hair and thick for a white dude lips and a lie swimmer's body on a 6'4" frame. Jonas was the picture-perfect American boy. And the way you frame this as an American boy, like, and you take that in relationship to how he is able to act around a police officer and the way that he carries that privilege, let's be honest about that privilege of being a white man, where they can look at him and he has trouble at work with his bosses and he's got a mouth on him and he beats this woman and he can still be painted as just a white boy rather than a white man. And then you look at stories of black boys who are legitimately children who are 12 years old going into court as black men.
Yep.
So you've got these young black children that are automatically aged and framed to be more threatening than they might actually be at 12 years old. And they frame them as being adults. But then you can get a character like Jonas, or you can get a person like Brock Turner who can rape with impunity, and then they get away with it because they're viewed as just being young boys with their whole future ahead of them, even though this is a college-age man who's doing these terrible things. The judge can look at him and go, he's just a little white boy. He'll be okay. This is just a growth spurt for him. But then it's like, you got a black kid with a joint, and it's like, oh, this man is a drug dealer and needs to go to prison for life.
Oh, yeah.
So, there's that context even within this story of looking at Jonas, and the character reflects on him that he's the picture-perfect American boy. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, he can get away with a lot of shit simply because he's white, and it's not a luxury Avery has as a black woman.
And he does go with a lot of shit.
Yeah.
After reading this story and knowing how it ends, I was trying to determine now, if the sheriff kind of knew.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he knew.
She was. So do you think that changed? That he acted a certain way with Jonas because he knew what the end result was going to be?
I don't know if his interaction with Jonas was predetermined. I think he was definitely sympathetic to Avery for specific reasons that relate to what we discover in the end of the story. Jonas is a bit trickier. That is certainly a possibility.
Because I was feeling that way at the beginning, too, when you're like, oh, man, this guy, he can get away with a lot more. But then as you kind of read through, and especially after the wolf attack, you the sheriff gives Avery something and is like, from your grandfather. So then I was like, well, crap. Did he know from the beginning who she was and why she was here? And then does that mean that the sheriff is kind of like, well, I'm going to lock all this stuff up in my chest because I know what we're going to do to you, Jonas. And so, sure, fine.
Yeah.
Well, the sheriff knew about her family and all that stuff. So I can assume that the sheriff had an inkling that she would return, or someone of that family would return.
Yeah.
It does set up an interesting logic flow, is like how this story plays out versus how it was expected to play out for the sheriff, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the deer standing in the highway, was that a deliberate attempt to cause the car crash?
Right.
Or can we assume that was an accident? You kind of wonder how much of this was a domino effect versus how much of it was premeditated.
Yeah.
Are they kind of changing their plans on the fly to get them to the cabin without any transportation because their car is totaled?
Yes. Yes.
It's interesting. It's a puzzle.
Which just goes to show how much she can pack into this story.
Yeah. Because we know the intent that Kaya, the sister, the intent was to get them to this cabin.
Yes.
So it's a curiosity of whether or not it was an intent to ensure that they have no escape from this cabin, or if that was just good luck on somebody's part, or if this is part of what was going on behind the scenes. Like, okay, we can do this. This is how we're going to do this.
Because I'm trying to remember, because I feel like Avery had kind of was away from the family for a long time, which then leads you to this, where it's kind of like, well, was this them finally like figuring out a way to get her back to accept who she really is? I can't remember if that was the case.
Her mother and sister basically cut ties with her over Jonas because they knew what he was about.
Yes.
And they just kind of assumed, well, we've tried to warn you away from this. You're opting to stay with it. At one point, they say to Avery that, we thought this is what you wanted. We thought you wanted this hood rat shit.
Yeah.
We thought you wanted to be with this abusive man. So we just let you go and do it,
Yeah.
I love how when the end of the story leads up to is just her embracing her past and her true nature.
Yeah.
And she kind of reclaims her own life for herself, which I thought was a really powerful statement for the end of the story.
Absolutely. And she also reclaims her family's legacy. She embraces her heritage.
Yeah. So to get you there, she gets attacked by a wolf as she's talking to her sister. She wakes up 24 hours later. That's when the sheriff comes, and the sheriff hands Avery a piece of ivory. It's like it looked like a claw or something.
Yeah. It was like a claw or a tooth.
Yes. It had design on it, which she dreamt about. And then basically the sheriff kind of is like, this is from your grandpa. And then Avery or Jonas kind of once they're kind of back together, Jonas is kind of like gets a little pissed. And that's when she finally strikes back, cuts him, knocks him out, and leaves, and is picked up by the sheriff's deputy. And that's when we kind of get the backstory or a little bit of the history of this area and how the sheriff was part of a family that came, and what basically they
were slave traffickers, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like in early 1900s. So way past.
Yeah. They were kidnapping and selling black people and enslaving them.
And then
one of them was Avery's grandfather.
Yes. Who bit him. And then then they strike up a deal, right? Is it basically, or?
Yeah. The grandfather basically makes a deal with the sheriff in exchange for the sheriff's, not only his life, but the life of all of his kin. I think the grandfather wipes out the guy's entire family and then says, all right, you can either die now too, or you can work for me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And so that's when we start finding out, like, okay, there's a lot happening here. And she accepts who she is by doing this late night lake sacrifice acceptance ceremony thing.
Which ends up like her just embracing everything about herself and her past.
Yeah.
Which is what we kind of got to the full circle.
Yes.
That moment after, like, she comes to that realization and, like, the bite and the transformation and the history and all that comes to the part where she just goes back to visit her husband.
Well, don't they bring him?
They bring him. I thought she went back to the husband.
No,
they brought him to her?
Yeah,
Yes.
She's taken out into the woods, and there is this fucking awesome scene that it's just beautifully rendered where she is taken to a lake at night, and you've got the moonlight shining down upon her, and then all of the other shapeshifters come riding on the backs of the dead deer.
Yes.
It's such a potent image. I fucking loved it.
Yes. And it's like her sister's there, her mom's there.
Yeah. And she had thought that her mother had died of an aneurysm.
Yes.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's
blamed
right.
herself for it. Turns out the mother is alive. She's been living in these forests.
And then they feed her Avery or Jonas.
Yeah, they feed her Jonas.
She reclaims everything for herself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like we were kind of talking about with like the werewolf thing. It's not. I don't think it really matters, but it's interesting for the story because the concept of the forest. That there's a part where they're talking about how like the forest didn't accept the white god, and the forest was kind of this own entity, and I'm guessing that's where the dead deer kind of come in, and that's why I was kind of like wondering too if this was more kind of like a Native American kind of like mythology getting built here, because they talk about Casimiro, and I'm trying to find it. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out, because like she kind of starts liking this guy, and he's part of this clan or whatever is happening in the woods, and like at first she kind of thinks of him as Hispanic, right? Am I making that up?
No, I believe that's right. She initially thinks
that's
he's
right.
Hispanic.
Yeah.
Turns out he is Native American.
Yes. And so that's kind of where I was wondering, and that's kind of where that doesn't matter if it's a werewolf, but I wonder too if this is kind of like a shape-shifting kind of like magic thing happening here. And then was the grandfather part, like, did he kind of accept whatever was happening in the woods, and that's kind of where this happened? Did something else bite the sheriff, and then but they all kind of were part of this thing? It's kind of an interesting to wonder, like, the bigger picture of what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of the details are fuzzy, and they're not necessary to be explicit.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot that could be expanded on, and I'm ready for Zin's next book whenever that comes out.
Well, she has one coming out through Tor.
Yeah, sounds like that'll be in September.
Yeah,
which I am very excited for.
One thing that I did really like about this, I don't know if we want to call it a curse or magic or how we want to describe it, but I greatly appreciated that it was something more ancient and pagan than the usual biblical myth kind of stuff that we get roped into.
I can agree with that. I just like how the story was like something more unique.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, exactly, because it again, we, you know, with the beginning stuff, with a lot of the abuse, and then with this kind of magic entity thing happening, it felt like it could have gone different ways, but I really appreciate that we get somebody accepting this, accepting her history, accepting the heritage, and like taking it and using it and overcoming this asshole husband.
Yeah. She may be transformed by it, but she never looks at it as anything other than a gift.
Yes.
You know, she doesn't look at it as a curse or I'm doomed or I'm damned. You know, we don't have that kind of vampire guilt.
Right. Or you don't have that like
of being a monster.
Yes, exactly. You don't have that kind of typical werewolf, like, this is ruining my world.
Yeah. Oh, I need to be caged. It's a full moon. Stop me.
Yes.
Instead, this is like, let's embrace it and fuck shit up.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's like, as soon as it ended, I was like, oh, I want so much more of this story. There's so much happening that I want to see.
There's even a brilliant bit of foreshadowing a quarter of the way through after she gets attacked by the wolf, which I didn't realize reading it the first time, and a line that comes up and it plays so much differently given the context of how the story ends, is when she's tucked into the couch and being tended to by Jonas, and he's being his usual shitheaded self. She says, in that moment, I hated his face so ferociously, I itched to sink my teeth deep into the cheekbone and tear away, disfigure the pretty face so opposite to mine.
Ooh.
And it's like, first read through is like, okay, I mean, she's just obviously rightfully pissed off at this guy. But then you look at it a second time, it's like, I wonder how much of that was her heritage coming into play. How much of it is that wolf bite starting to really set in?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that a natural thought for her to have, or is that because of whatever has entered her body and is starting to change her? Is it an instinct or just kind of a random thought that she's having?
Yeah, I exactly. And I think that ties into also all the like like, I guess, future scenes of like, are those future scenes, or are those just kind of dream parts of her kind of like ready to attack? And then does that mean like part of her heritage is kind of coming out, even though she isn't fully into whatever this is? Yeah, it's interesting.
I really, really dig these elements of like reclaiming nature and the natural world, where they have all, like, this whole group is naked at the end and they've all returned to the forest. And it's really neat imagery. And I like that aspect of that kind of ecological statement of this group.
I remember when I first read this story last year, and the whole thing when I first read it was just, it was one of the most like freshest things I'd read at the time. Even now, like looking at it again, it really, really holds up. Yeah. And it's so much more rewarding, even though I kind of fudged that last bit. This was the last work week before vacation, so it was kind of hell.
Yeah. I also just want to say the very last line of this story is just fucking perfect, where she has embraced her heritage and they bring Jonas to her and she's chewing on him and he's crying. And the last line, one tear falls, and it is all the seasoning I need.
Yes.
I'm just like, yes. There is so nothing as delicious as a white man's tears. Fucking get him.
Oh, man.
This guy's got to be like, he's an abusive shithead. He's got to be a Trump supporter. Just fucking drink his conservative tears. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I do want to thank Zin for this wonderful story.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It's so awesome that Tor did this too. I think that's great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Tor, I'm really happy Tor launched Nightfire, because Tor used to publish a lot of horror and they haven't in a while. So it's kind of cool to see them dipping their toes back into the genre. I think they're doing lots of cool things. I'm happy they're highlighting voices like Zin's.
Yes.
I'm happy they're highlighting voices like S.A. Hunt when they released her trilogy.
Yes.
I'm happy they're embracing like newer and different authors from groups that need more representation and are doing their best to put that work out and promote it and to get it into more eyeballs.
Yeah, I mean, this story does predate Nightfire by a solid year.
It does.
Year and a half, 2 years, somewhere in that time frame.
They had already announced Nightfire when they released the story, but this is just a Tor.com original.
Yeah.
Which can go under anything for Tor.
It is very much building that line, that path to the Nightfire imprint to say, here's what we can expect. I mean, we're going to have badass stories like this from Zin E, Rocklyn.
Yeah.
And this is our opening salvo. We're going to be going like this, and we're going to get Stephen Graham Jones with his short stories. And it really, really makes me enthusiastic for what Nightfire is going to be doing.
Yeah.
Same. I can't wait to read more.
And it's neat too, because this is kind of a shorter work, and it's neat that they were like, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to publish this. We're going to put it on our website, and you can get it as a single piece. You know, it's not part of a collection. It's not an anthology. It's just this one little story. And it could have easily them been like, oh, we're not going to do this. And, you know, we need something longer. But instead they're like, yeah, we're going to go for this short little thing that might not fit in a magazine because it's a little bit longer than what they would accept. But we want to kind of, you know, share this with everybody because it's really good. And so I appreciate that. I haven't seen too many go in this direction of taking something that, you know, like we said, it's like 30 pages and publishing it by itself. So
yeah. I hate to break it to you, Matt, but Tor's been doing this for a while.
What? Something this short? What else have they done?
Yeah, they've done a lot. If you go like,
in fact, I just picked up a Cassandra Khaw story that they published a little while back.
They just published a new Stephen Graham Jones story.
This short?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? No.
Yes.
Well, there you go, people.
I know they're a new publisher, and you've had difficulty keeping up with them.
Shut your face.
Like, if you look up, like, if you go on Amazon and you look up, like, best of Tor, Tor.com, they release anthologies for the Kindle that's just the best of their editorial best of stories, and they're free.
Yeah,
but those are combined. Like, they're not just a single story, right?
You can buy the single stories for $1.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or you can get the best of. So they have some of the best of Tor.com 2020 edition, a Tor.com original, and it's free to download on the Kindle. And I'm looking at the authors right now.
Fine, then. I take back all the congratulations. Apparently, you've been doing this for a while, Tor.
Well, you can still congratulate them.
Apparently, I can't.
Also, if you so for our audience, I'm just noticing this now. If you want to read The Night Sun, you can read it on Tor.com. You can also buy it for 99 cents, or if it's a free download to your Kindle off Amazon, they have some of the best from Tor.com 2020. It's located inside that collection as well. And among other authors in this collection, you have Charlie Jan Anders, G.V. Anderson, Jeremy Packett Burke, S. Q. Lu, Brian Evanson, Catherine Duckett, Carolyn Eves Gilman, M. Rickert, Maria Dava Anna Headley. I apologize for bad pronunciations. C.L. Polk, Stephen Graham Jones, Justin C. Key, Rich Larson, Gregory Norman Bossert, Matthew Pridham, Yoon Ha Lee, Maureen McHugh, Usman T. Malik, Sarah Pinsker, Zin E. Rockland, Rachel Swirsky, K.M. SZPARA. I can't pronounce that, so I apologize. Lavi Tidhar, who's one of my favorite speculative fiction writers. Fran Wild, Naomi Kurtzer, Tasmian Murr, and Claire Redwood. And it is a free download to your Kindle.
Very nice of them to do that.
Very cool.
Tor is doing lots of cool things. They've been doing this for a while, but what's the Brian Evanson one they have? Because I just bought a Brian Evanson Tor Kindle single.
He's got a few of them, I think.
They just released a new one.
Well, there you
I haven't
go.
read it yet, but
Very cool.
yeah.
Well, I
Tor
still
is doing
congratulate
great
you
things.
for doing that, Tor. It's
Yes.
still pretty sweet.
Very nice.
Tor
Even
is
if I was
doing-
wrong.
Good job, Tor.
Good job, Tor. We congratulate you.
And also good job on them for signing this past October a 2-book deal with Zin for her debut novella. As we said earlier, this one will be out in September, we think, called Flowers for the Sea. I'm not going to read the whole blurb. It's only 2 paragraphs. You can look it up. But I want to highlight the opening paragraph of what to expect for Flowers for the Sea. And it is about survivors from a flooded kingdom struggle alone on an ark. Resources are scant, and ravenous sea beasts circle.
Nice.
I need that book.
I want it. Sea beasts. I need more sea beasts.
Yes.
Sounds
Well,
amazing.
Thank you again, Tor, for giving authors much needed recognition. Thank you, Zin, for this wonderful story. And I speak for Matt and Mike when I say we can't wait to read more.
True.
Indeed.
Next week, we're going to be discussing a comic or graphic novel, Through the Woods by Emily Carroll, with comic author John Lees, who has written Sink, Hotel with 2 L's, and The Mountainhead.
Yes. I picked up The Mountainhead.
Did you start it yet, Matt?
No, I'm going to do it today. And then I'm also waiting. I ordered Into the Woods. That's one we're doing.
Yeah,
Through
Into
the
the Woods.
Through the Woods.
Through the Woods. Yeah. I was supposed to get it yesterday, but I don't know. Amazon said our driver didn't get there, so he'll get there tomorrow. So,
Well, good luck.
yeah.
I'm holding Through the Woods now. I'm going to read it today.
I'm excited.
Hopefully you get it faster than you got The Worm and His Kings.
Right? Oh, man. It's so funny because I listened to our episode that we released this week, which was our discussion on body horror. And in that one, I said, I ordered Worm and the Kings. I can't wait to get it. And it took like a month and a half later to get it. Hopefully this one gets here today.
Well, good luck.
Thanks.
And go get a copy of The Night Sun because it's fucking awesome.
Yes.
Agreed.
And apparently many other tour books because I don't know about these things.
Yeah. We're trying to introduce Matt to these new up-and-comer publishers he's never heard of before.
Yeah, Tor, they're just new and getting started, but they're doing some good work.
I'll tell you, they're going places.
I was like, oh, this is neat. You know, it's like a single story and it's a longer one. That's cool. I hadn't seen people do that before.
They're going to become a real name brand one of these days, I think.
I hate you.
All right. Well, be sure to give us a review, share our podcast around. We want to make sure that the abyss consumes all. And I think we've been doing a good job so far. We had our biggest month last month. And we want to keep this thing going. Mike, where can listeners get in touch with you?
They can find me on Twitter at MikeH5856, or they can hit up my website at michaelpatrickhicks.com, or look me up on Amazon and buy my latest release, Friday Night Massacre.
And Matt, what about you?
I am on Twitter, Brandenburg DM, and apparently you can tell me about new publishers because I don't know what's happening in the world.
Have you heard about this publisher called St. Martin's Press?
What? Who is this?
They're like super new, getting some really big names out there.
Matt,
there's also HarperCollins. They're a pretty fresh press as well.
Matt, have you heard about the Simon and Schuster?
What? Matt,
that sounds made up.
Have you heard about Penguin?
That also sounds made up. I mean, who names their publishing company after a bird?
And you can follow me at Rudy53088. And be sure to follow our podcast, Add Into Staring. And this is Richard Gerlach saying, keep staring.
Ladies and gentlemen, Project Entertainment Network presents The Mondo Method.
An old man with a goatee teaches a younger guy with a beard how to write.
Introducing first, he's the mentor and the greatest manager of all time, Mondo Guerrero. And from parts unknown, up-and-coming superstar, the Great Buddha.
Okay, so maybe their names are really just Armand Rosamelia and Chuck Buddha, and maybe you'll learn something while they're at it. Wednesdays, exclusively on Project Entertainment Network.
This has been a presentation of the Project Entertainment Network.